I know. I avoided it. I avoided the bingo card to mention that. Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch with myself, Kate Tracey, alongside Andrew Mount and Dave Young to look ahead to the 7 ITV schedulised races from Newbury and Warwick. Schedulised, is that a word?
Not an
scheduled.
It is now. You've said it.
Yeah, I said it. I said it with conviction, so I'm going to go with it now. I'm going to add it to my own little dictionary. Dictionary again. All the pronunciations at the minute are all over the shop. Anyway, we've got 7 races to go at Newbury and Warwick. Grade 2 races are plenty to go at, as well as the newly named William Hill Premier Handicap Hurdle as well at Newbury. Now, in terms of last week's results, Affodil was of course an agonising second, only by a narrow margin. Dave's face still tells the picture here that he's still feeling the hurt of it in the Scottish County Hurdle for the lads. Double nap. But that was about the theme then for the favourites, tipped up after Django Bay going down by a head bobber for Andrew before Henry II lived up to his name, finding just 1-2 good. Small turn of the tide, though, for the lads. They both agreed that there was no point taking on Galopanda Champs, and the early 4-6 did indeed prove to be value with his SP of 1-2 in the end. Then it was O'Connell in the last for Andrew, who was very well backed from an each-way recommendation at 5-1, all the way down to 7-4. He won like the money suggested he would, so hopefully he can take the form of those last couple of races into this week, where, as I say, we have Newbury's Super Saturday to go at. And Newbury is where we begin, lads, as well, with the 150 handicap hurdle, 0-135 contest for your odds and over 3 miles. 7-1 joint favourites heading the way in this one, Andrew. So wide open start.
Yeah, good race this one. Interested to see Haiti Couleurs, who's 33-1 for the Brown Advisory, returning to hurdles after 2 wins over fences. Bit of an odd move that. Not sure if it's some sort of keep ticking over while protecting handicap mark for some other target at Cheltenham, but wasn't for me, despite the quality of those 2 wins. Up for parole, I do like for this, although he's one of several. He's bet on a flat track. There's a quote in, after one of his wins some time ago from Jamie Snowden, saying that basically he doesn't go uphill and down dale, and he had a flat track and soft ground for the first time in God knows how long when he won at Foss last, landing a bit of a punt in the process last time out. He was on the shortlist. Magical King, I was a bit worried about the form of the Stuart Edmonds yard. They seem to have gone quiet of late, and he's only won once from 9 starts. That was when 8-15 favourite for a novice hurdle at Wetherby, so I was a bit surprised to see him trading as short as 8-1. Shutupshirley was another one on the short list. He's done really well since stepped up in trip to 2 miles 5 or further, winning 3 from 3, albeit in a lower grade. He's won with plenty in hand on each occasion. And the others of interest, Tiny Tetley, who won at Taunton last time out, 2 runs ago, despite his connections telling the stewards that he didn't like Taunton. The track was too tight when he was only 5th there as the 9-4 favourite back in April. Haydock looked a bit too tight for him last time as well when he sort of plugged on into 4th. So given that he's won Exeter, which is a sort of giant 2-mile in circumference track like Newbury, I thought he would go well at a track where Philip Hobson Johnson White have a good record. And the very interesting one, Ballygriffin Cottage, first run for Harry Derham, having left Dan Skelton Scare. First time blinkers. Harry Derham's horses are running well again now, and of course he's had 33 stable switches run for him in a handicap at the first time of asking for the yard. 16 of the 33 won for a profit of £41.60. So there's 4 on the short list there. I'm just going to go Shutupshirley though, because I think he's probably gone under the radar a little bit, despite being 3 from 3 over staying trips, probably because he's trained by Robert Walford and not a more fashionable yard.
Yeah, 8-1 then about Shutupshirley, but I am a big fan of that price of 20-1. Pleased that you gave the shout out for Ballygriffin Cottage, now under the care of Harry Derham with those stats to boot as well. Dave, who'd you like?
I'm wondering with the Harry Derham stable switches first time in a handicap, whether he's just deciding to run them all first time in a handicap now, whether he thinks they've got a chance or not, because it seems to have paid off before. But yeah, there was definitely a few that were interested in here. I'm a little bit annoyed that Bective Abbey didn't get declared for Nicky Henderson. I'm just going to give that one a mention because it's had quite a long layoff. It's got some nice form from before. Had an entry on Wednesday. I'd have really fancied that horse in here, but obviously it's not here, so let's not waste time. Andrew's mentioned Haiti Couleurs. 33-1 for the Brown Advisory. Sean Bowen said after his last ride on him in December that he actually could be a horse that goes for a Brown Advisory in terms of class. But Rebecca Menzies has said that Rebecca Curtis has said that this horse is going for the National Hunt Chase. That's the aim. So obviously being a handicap, they're definitely using this as a prep run to sort of protect the mark. However, that's not stopping me thinking that this horse has got a proper chance in here, because it was a 2-year layoff that he had from his points before he started running last season. You can forgive a few of the first runs, but at the back end of last season in April, where he'd finished sort of racing for the season, he definitely hadn't finished his upward trajectory. Now, I tipped him up one time this season, bearing in mind he's won 3 times and only got beaten once. It was the first time I tipped him up when he got beat, but he's progressed after those runs. And like Andrew said, the last couple of runs have been pretty good. Now, lots of horses do improve for an obstacle, and I'm sure he is a very good chaser too, but I don't think he finished progressing over hurdles too. So 135 is his current mark. I think he's well capable of doing those sort of numbers over the smaller obstacles. I don't think this is the deepest race. I think there's lots of horses with questions to answer. And you'd imagine tactically as well, the fact that Sean Bowen's got the ride, he's been a bit keen in his couple of races over fences that he's won, but that's not necessarily been a problem because he has won them. I wonder here, if they're educational and they just try and get him to set a little bit, I think that negates his sort of, I guess, his strong point that he's used to win his last couple of chase races. So I think they're just going to go out in front on him and they're just going to burn him off from the front. If worse comes to worse and he does a bit too much too soon and gets picked up by something else late on, then they won't care because it makes no difference to his chase mark. But I see no reason why they wouldn't be trying to win this race. He's 11-2 top price at the time of recording. You can get 4 places up for grabs as well. So he looks like an absolute freebie each way swing in the opener. And I definitely think he could win this.
Yeah, and also win, but like I say, that freebie for the each way play for this race as well. Haiti Couleurs. Right, we're going to move on to the 205 at Warwick now. The Grade 2 Kingmaker Novices Chase, 5 roads and over 2 miles. Load of Sud is a 2-7 shot in here. He's only got 3 rivals to try and overturn him at that short price, Dave. So do they do so?
No, it's one of these races where you can try and start to get clever and say what could happen, but one of them's another Dan Skelton horse risking the ground there just to pick up some prize money, maybe even help out Lodersud. Tedley, I do like him, but he's a bit of a rogue and he's not up to this standard. And Ribaud, for all that he ran behind Sir Gino and Ballyburn last time out, he did fall at the last, which obviously isn't ideal. He never was put into the race when it started to get going, but there was no real value in doing that because he wasn't going to get to him. Wonder whether, now he's come to chasing like quite late in the season, whether they'll mind just protecting his novice chase status, if you know what I mean, by throwing him in the deep end. And obviously, if anything did happen to Lodersud, then he'd pick up the pieces. But even if the ground was to dry out to suit Ribaud a bit more, Lodersud's run in Cheltenham was on good ground, and that's his best performance for me of the season. So I don't see how this horse gets beat. The only thing I would say is, thankfully, the bookies have made him like a 1-4 shot, because when he was like available in the week at 1-2, you could make a case of trying to want to get stuck into him. But you got to remember, there have been a few horses that have been turned over in this in small fields. We had Lamy Surge was beaten at 1-5, I think. Klashnikov was odds on as well, and Nube Negra for Ari and Dan Skelton was turned over in this race too, beaten by Rouge Vif, I think it was. So we've had like a few favourites that won this race. There's only been one renewal in the last 10 where it wasn't the second favourite that came up from it. But I don't see any point in taking them on for the sake of it. It'll be a race I'll be watching.
Yeah, just watching in this one, like you say, yeah, but a 1-4 shot now as well for Lodersud Sud. Andrew, did you have an angle?
I've got an angle. I think the favourite will win. That's not the angle. It's
Wow,
obvious.
what
Taking on the second favourite, Ribaud, for the forecast position or the without market is probably the angle. I mean, Rubo's basically a good ground spring and autumn horse. He's coming here on the back of a fall. He normally runs on right-handed tracks. He's back on a left-handed track. He's on ground that's softer than ideal, even accounting for 48 hours of dry weather. He's not raced left-handed since finishing 6th at Ayr last spring, so he could prove vulnerable. So the obvious one for to take advantage would be Tedley, who seems best with 2 conditions: a small field, 7 or fewer runners, and a flat track. When he gets those, he tends to run well. Cheltenham was no good for him 2 runs ago when he finished last at 3. 10 runners. There was a bigger field than ideal when not totally disgraced 5th of 10 to Teresita at Ascot last time. Again, a track that wouldn't have suited. So going on a flat course, he could plod round for 2nd place behind the favourite.
Okay, yeah, so that's a way to play it at least. Anyway, something a bit different for that pretty short price favourite Lodersud heading the way in the Kingmaker. Right, we head back to Newbury now for another Grade 2 contest. This time it is the Denman Chase, 5 rods and over 2 miles 7. Brave Man's Game. What's going on with my accent today? My accent's all over the shop. I think it's because I was already reading the name Brave Man's Game. So anyway, Brave Man's Game, 2-1 favourite heading the way in this one. And we talk about horses with loads of character we know loads about. All of our old friends are back for this one, Andrew.
Yeah, a fascinating race. Pretty hard to come up with a solid selection. Brave Man's Game is difficult to know what to do with. He hasn't won for a while. But he's not up against any Irish horses. He's not running in Grade 1 company. He's a course and distance winner, so there's plenty of positives for him. But the price, perhaps not so. He's in tongue tied for the first time. It'll be fascinating to see how that helps him. J-Lo I wanted to be against because he does seem best right-handed. I know he's won at this track. But when you look at his left-handed wins, they've tended to come in lower grade races, like sort of class 3 novice handicaps and that type of thing. He was out to his right at most of his fences, when well beaten into second at left-handed Windsor last time. Hitman's finished second in this race twice before, I believe, and the Hitman, as we've talked about on this pod so often, does like has got a case of the after you Claudes and does like to finish second. So I think it's going to be a case of Hitman finishing second again. So some firms, particularly Sky Bet and Coral, do offer the market horses to finish exactly, where you can back them to finish exactly second or exactly third, and Hitman would be interesting in that market. Le Patron was a tricky one. He was impressive at the track a couple of runs ago, but he does tend to go off the boil post-Christmas. All his winning seems to be in sort of the October, November, December. GA Law, I thought the ground was going to be too soft for this one. He was pulled out on soft ground at Cheltenham on trials day, and it's going to be the same again, I think. Fugitive reportedly runs here instead of Warwick, where he's also entered for the Veterans Chase. For that is his second preference. He's going to have a bit of a shock when he gets out of his horse box and finds he's not at Cheltenham, because that's where he sort of turns up 9 times out of 10. He's got a good record in the November to February deep midwinter period. 5 wins from 17 starts for a profit of 12 quid to a £1 stake. He's 0 from 6 in the spring. I thought he could run a race, obviously, coming here. And Sam Brown wasn't out of it either. He wasn't great behind Shishkin, Hitman and Protectorat, went 4th in this race last year. Now, the winner and the third were rated 173 and 165 that day. There's nothing that high here. Brave Man's Game's 157, for example. So although he's a 13-year-old, Sam Brown, with the, if we get the 8 runners in the dead 8, I think Sam Brown each way is not a ridiculous bet. And Eldorado Allen won this 3 years ago. Tizard's got a good record in the race over the years. He's probably well beyond his best now. But again, he's the other one that you could make a case for at a big price. But my tip in the race is Hitman to finish second. And if you want it each way, you're sort of 14, 16 to 1, maybe throw a few quid at Sam Brown, despite him being a 13-year-old.
And the biggest price, joint biggest price in the field, but you also said about Eldorado Allen there, and he's the other one who's 14 to 1, but Sam Brown 14 to 1, then it's the outsider of the field for the old boy, but Hitman finished second, as he loves to do. 6 to 1 shot, though, in this market. Dave, how are you playing it?
Yeah, like similar thoughts, obviously, about Hitman. We know how he's doing. His last 2 runs have been really good, though. The one behind Manila Drama I thought was eye-catching, and even last time, Teresita was probably a well-handicapped horse. It's another one of these horses. I put it up the time before when it goes and gets slammed, then goes and wins next time out. Theme of the season might be the theme for Brave Man's Game, because viewers will recall that I fancied him for the Charlie Hall. Didn't work out. Went off him for Haydock. Back on him for the King George, where they kept the blinkers on. Stop putting headgear on him. He doesn't like it. They did it with cheap pieces. So the fact that there's no blinkers, cheap pieces in here is probably a small reason why I could start to make a case of Brave Man's Game, but I just don't want to do it anymore. Fed up of him. Tongue tie could potentially help. It's one of these races, I think, obviously everything's easier in hindsight, but you wouldn't be surprised if Brave Man's Game did go and slap these up, because Grade 2's his level. He's, like Andrew said, he's a course and distance winner, and this is a track where he's going to run well. Jello's bred to want a bit further, so I'm not 100% sure it's going to work. But if they send this horse out in front, then I think he could be semi-interesting. So it wouldn't be a shot to see him run well, but I would definitely want to be against him. Like Andrew said, I do think his better form is right-handed, even though he's won at this course before. Hitman, you can get about 5 to 4, if not a little bit bigger, for him to finish just top 3, so you don't even have to worry about the win part of the bet. That's where my recommendation would come in the race, I think, because Fugitive, we think's coming here. Sean Bowen, they want to keep the partnership there, and he's riding at this track. It would be the dead 8 if he stayed in this field, but just say there was a non-runner, like we say, Gala could pull up because of the soft ground. I'd rather not back him each way and sort of lose the win part of it. I'd rather just back him straight in the place market. So similarly in agreement with Andrew, it's going to be Hitman as the selection, but I'll just do him in the sort of 2 or 3 places market, whatever price he is for that.
Yeah, then go with the prices then for that one. But yeah, agreement. And that is not the horse that I was expecting the pair of you two to be agreeing on in this sense whatsoever. But anyway, Denman Chase, really, really interesting to see how that race fares. Right, the 240 at Warwick is a listed mare's hurdle, 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 5. Gala Marceau, she's back for more in this one, Dave. So are you going to stick or twist? Were you even with her last time out? I can't remember.
No, well, she ran it last time she ran was Punchestown when she's behind Lossiemouth. So I do make a lot of mistakes, Kate, but I wouldn't have put her up against Lossiemouth.
No. Good point. I was thinking of the wrong horse there.
You're thinking of Margaux.
I was thinking of Margaux then, yeah.
But no, but that's a really important point to bring in here. So Margaux, they talked about the fact that potentially could need the run, got beaten by a horse that, with respect to take no chances, she shouldn't have got beaten by. And Gala Marceau comes here, like I say, not running since May last year. She came over to run at Doncaster, I think it was, last year for her first run, beaten by a stablemate that day. She was pretty weak in the market. So look, there is a bit of a reason to think with her that maybe she might need the run or she's entitled to benefit for it, which is probably true. But she doesn't need to run near her best to win this. It is 6 runners in the field, but there's only 3 that could probably win it. You Wear It Well's coming back from going over fences, but it's been a little while since she's won a race, and she hasn't even run an RPR above 130 for a long time either. I know her Chase debut where she got nabbed by She Could Be Anything looked like, you know, there was a semblance that she might be going back for her old self, but it was a good ride from the jockey on the winner, but Gavin Sheehan just lost the race. He didn't realise there was a horse closing up, and it was a low RPR as well. She's been pants since, so she's got to give weight away. You could see a world where she does win this if for some reason she sparks back into life, which can happen with some of these mares, but she can't win this. West Balboa's too old as well. Now they put cheap pieces on. Harry Skelton's back on, which potentially could rejuvenate her. And a rejuvenated West Balboa running off her levels with Gala Marceau wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world. But you'd think that they might have an idea of sort of a handicap again. They did it with Aintree last year, didn't they? So I wonder whether this is a means to an end. And she went over fences and that's been aborted as well. Whereas Gala Marceau, for all that this probably will be a prep run for going into Cheltenham, she was only 7 lengths behind Lossiemouth in that run in Punchestown in May. Even in the actual mare's hurdle, she had You Wear It Well 18 lengths further back behind her. There isn't a horse like Lossiemouth in this race. So given it's a listed race, given it's a race where Gala Marceau will clearly improve from it, we're getting a price about her that ordinarily, if she was wound up for this, she'd be sort of long odds on. So it is relatively boring that she's a favourite. It would be, remember the risks attached that there were with Margaux as well. Like she might well need this run, but 6-4, I think, is a fair enough price to play a small stake to find out.
Yeah, so yeah, small stakes then to find out though, all the same. So like I say, that price is enticing enough. Andrew.
Yeah, fascinating race this. You know, I love a race for lady horses.
I know. I avoided it. I avoided the bingo card to mention that.
Yeah, I wanted to take on the favourite as it's a first run for 280 days. She's had 2 seasonal debuts for Willie Mullins. She's been chinned at short odds on each occasion, racing keenly when very fresh, and bears a striking resemblance to Margaux for that reason. Who, you know, she's the kind of horse who's going to get beat here at a short price and then come out and win at Cheltenham, or run really well at Cheltenham, I'd have thought. West Balboa was sort of interesting with the first-time cheap pieces on, which is a positive angle for Dan Skelton, albeit his chasers tend to do better in that headgear than the hurdlers. You Wear It Well, it's good to see her back over hurdles. After that disappointing run at Windsor last time, Connections just basically said, no, she don't like fences, you know, as the reason for the poor run. Dame of the Cotswolds wasn't without hope, but the one I've sort of come down on as a you say Dame of the Cotswolds, last 5 runs against her own sex, second, first. She could go well at a price, but there's another funny one, Royal Margaux for Tom Simmons. Now, when this one ran against Delicasa Lunga at Kempton last time, it paid to be on the front end. She did best of the closers in finishing 3rd, only beaten 2.5 lengths. She was 8.5 lengths ahead of West Balboa, and the patiently ridden 5th, Looking As You Are, came out and won at Ludlow a couple of days ago. So although she doesn't exactly win very often, I thought Royal Margaux could outrun her odds and possibly end up sort of second here. So if you can sort of play her on the exchanges in sort of 2 and 3 place market, I think you might do pretty well out of that. But yeah, that was it. It was an interesting race, but yeah, taking on the Jolly would be my main route into it.
Would be the main route into it. But yeah, that is a nice price there about Royal Margaux. If you did like her, 25-1 as well. Good price for that. Right, back to Newbury now for the 3 o'clock. This is for Game Spirit Chase, grade 2 contest, 5-year-olds and over 2 miles. And they're rolling the big dice end with Sir Gino in this one, but he is still a 2 to 5 favourite. So Andrew, does he stand up to the test?
Yeah, I think so. I think the key there was stand up. You assume he wins or falls. I seem to have a lot of horses I fancy to finish second on Saturday's cards, and another one goes here in the shape of Matata, who we know has got to go left-handed. And you look at Matata's record on left-handed tracks below Grade 1 level. It's another string of 1s and 2s, 4 wins, 6 seconds from 10 starts. So I'm betting here that Sir Gino's going to win and Matata's going to finish second.
Okay, yeah, so Gino to win, Matata then to finish second with going back left-handed as well. Dave, your angle, please.
Yeah, I don't know if I've got one, to be honest with you. The price of Sir Gino has started to collapse already. I think there was still a bit of 4 to 7 about when they reopened the market. He's 4 to 9 is sort of the biggest price in here. I guess there's like a couple of questions to ask. Like Matata's rating of 163, I guess you'd have to question whether he's worthy of that. And I don't want to be mean to him because, like I say, I thought he could run a big race in the Arkle last year. But that still plays like fresh in my mind that when he does go and run in these graded races, as opposed to in the handicaps, where potentially more horses are trying, he does seem to get slammed in them. And he was very good last time. They gave him a soft lead on the front. I think the handicap has been brutally harsh, giving him £8. And he's one of these horses that, I don't want to say he's a rogue because I'm not 100% sure he is, but he has had a few finishes where he's like, you wonder if he could have won the race. Even the race with Calico earlier this season, he did the same behind Nelson, I think it was. He is one of those that could be a little bit roguey. And you just imagine if he, I don't know, if for any reason someone decides to go up with him, like Edwardstone last year, they kicked him out from the front. I'd say that, not like, I'd say Matata goes up very quick. Most times you'd say, well, nothing can live with him. But this is a grade 2 where you've got horses that are capable of going sort of grade 1 speeds at 2 miles. So look, all of that said, I just don't see how Sir Gino gets beat. Like Andy said, if he stands up, he goes and wins it. He's only had that one run over fences, but his jumping was like that of a seasoned chaser. We did see Madsbury in the Dublin Race Festival balloon a few fences and still have enough of an engine to go and win it. But I don't see any reason why Sir Gino would get beat in this race. And I do get that there could be an angle to try and bet something without it, but I wonder if Matata might just blow up in this.
Do you think Matata's not as fruitcakey or roguish as he was last season? Because he always used to jump left into the wings of his fences on left-handed tracks even. And there was that Lingfield race where he sort of took out most of the field at the start, didn't he? When just wanted to lug to his left straight away. I've just been watching his replays of his runs this season. He does seem to be jumping a lot straighter this time. So I thought he was better this season.
Yeah.
But I used to share the opinion of you that he was a bit of a fruitcake.
But yeah, his jumping is definitely better now. That's like I say, the only slight worry, because he did go quite a good clip in the Arkle as well, and that ruined him. And then Aintree was last of all of them, wasn't he? But that run at Kelso this season when Nelson beat him, I mean Nelson deserved to win the race, but I would still question whether he maybe dogged it a tiny bit. But I'm not saying he's disingenuous. I just think he pulls out as much as he possibly can in those situations, as opposed to potentially dogging it. But it's just that if they give him a nice easy lead off the front, I think he would definitely be the one that finishes second to Sir Gino. If someone like Edwardstone, because they can't just keep holding him up, they need to send him on. If someone like Edwardstone pesters him, then I wonder if he might fall at the back of the telly. But for all that said, like if you want to have a small interesting bet to win a pint in the afternoon, not even that, maybe try and win like a Mars bar.
Drink responsibly and eat responsibly as well.
For an apple, then. For the price of an apple, have a pound on Gino.
There you go, for the price of an apple. I know that's one thing we haven't had forced down our throat, is it? Is responsible eating all that much. Yeah, literally. Yeah. Oh, everything else we're nanny stated nowadays, eating wise. Oh no, eat what you want. Yeah, so agreement then about that. But yeah, I know Edwardstone, the way that he won this race last year, but it's just Alan King. Like Alan King just hates his horses, even when they win after making he hates his horses being ridden forward. So yeah, you'd like to see it from Edwardstone, but I'm not going to hold my breath by any means, but really hoping to see a good showing from Sir Gino then in the Game Spirit Chase. Right, the 3:15 at Warwick is a middle distance series veterans handicap chase, 0 to 150 contest, 10-year-olds and over 2 mile 4. So speedy old boys. Fugitive appears again in this one though, Dave, at the head of the betting. So where's he going?
I mean, I don't know. I'd sort of half fancied him if he was coming into this race, but I think he's like priced defensively even if he did come here. So the fact that we don't know where he's going, but we think he probably goes to Newbury, I was sort of lukewarm on his price anyway. Like he would have been a sort of an each way thievery thing. It would be good for him to come here though, because he'd be running a class 2 as opposed to running in those grade 3 class 1s he's run the last twice. But I don't know. We'll see where he goes. If he does come here, he's obviously got a chance, but he is sort of skinny enough. Lemilos won a race like 4 years ago or something like that, and it's been like 3 miles with the races that he goes and wins. I don't know how, as an old boy, they think dropping him back in trips going to give him a chance. He's vying for favouritism. I couldn't have him in a million years, so clip that up when Lemilos wins. Shakem Up Harry obviously took last year's plate off just a £4 lower mark. He did fall in December back at Cheltenham. They've waited with him since, so I don't know whether something came to light after that race or not, but obviously if he's ready to roll now, I think Shakem Up Harry's got some decent recent form. Smarty Wild we've talked about a couple of times because there was the cancelled Veterans Chase where they quickly got him qualified. All you had to do was line up and then they pulled him up in that race. His run behind Copperhead after wasn't that great, but he has won at about this trip before. It's been 4 years since his last win, like Lemilos, but it's been like 2 years where he was off the track. So I'd give him a little bit of a chance. Grandad's Cottage is a really weird one in here because, dare I say it, considering it's a Veterans Chase, I think he's a little bit unexposed over fences. He's only had the 10 spins. When he won first time up this season, it looked like he would definitely back it up after. Sent off 130 last time and was just never at the races. So, I mean, you'd have to put a line through that. But when we talk about lots of horses that haven't won for a long time, and we talk about lots of horses that maybe don't ideally want this trip, I thought Grandad's Cottage was very interesting. A few of the other ones like Editor de Geek, Heldestan, Whistleinthedark, I think they're just gone at the game, to be respectful to him. So Grandad's Cottage, if he was on a going day, I'd give a bit of a chance to. Shakem Up Harry, if they were trying with him, then I'd give him a chance as well. But I don't know how I'd split the pair of them. So I'd probably have the price of a lottery ticket on each of them. I'll try and win an apple off of Grandad's Cottage and an apple off of Shakem Up Harry, please.
You can have an apple apiece then for those two. How nice would it be to see Grandad's Cottage going in with John Hale's colours as well, of course, but 11-2 and 6-1 then about the pair of those two. Andrew.
Yeah, funny old race. Fugitive will probably go to Newbury. Lemilos did catch the eye at Chepstow last time because we know Chepstow Chase Course, massive front runners benefit. Lowry's Bar, very progressive, was always in the front end that day, as was Can You Call, the runner-up. Both have run well in defeat since, finishing close seconds. Lemilos was best of the closers, 16 lengths clear of the fourth. But again, hasn't won for a long time. I mean, this is coming into Veterans Company is obviously going to suit. Shakem Up Harry, I bet last time on the new course at Cheltenham when he fell, because he loves that track. He goes well fresh. I thought this was just a sort of confidence boosting sighter ready for another crack at the stable place, a race in which older horses have got a good record over the years. Smarty Wild needs to go right-handed, so can't have him. Grandad's Cottage could go one of either way. It's the kind of horse you wouldn't mind backing to win, laying for a place. Editor de Geek is the potential pace angle, but probably is better over 2 miles. Strawfan Jack only ever seems to win in October. So I looked at Whistleinthedark as well, who, despite the fact like Lemilos, his patient style isn't ideal for Warwick. He did take a step forward on his second start of the season when fourth at Aintree last time, 28-1 that day. Did best of those to come from off the pace, with Laura Morgan's horses running better now. I thought 33-1, a couple of quid each way on him wasn't a bad angle. So I'm going Whistleinthedark over Lemilos here.
Over Lemilos then, but again, the outsider of the field for Andrew. He's got a bit of a theme today. The horses finish second or outsiders off the field, and plenty of these as well. I like that a lot. Right, our final scheduled race then on the ITV schedule is the 3:35 at Newbury, the now called William Hill Hurdle. Premier Handicap Hurdle, 4-year-olds and over 2 miles. Previously, the Betfair Hurdle, of course, as well. 7-2 the field. Wonderful. Dear old Secret Squirrel is heading the way. Old Blondie locked himself in this one, but wide open as ever. So, Andrew, who took your eye?
Secret Squirrel is obviously interesting enough that wins a win. Interesting stat, though, in the last 10 renewals of this race, last time out winners are just 1 win from 57 runners. Which is pretty damning. That win came in 2019 when the race was rearranged at Ascot a week later. So, got to go back a long way to find the last time out winner who won at Newbury. That might not stop Secret Squirrel. I just thought it was interesting enough to worth mentioning. And Navajo Indy was on the radar as well. Obviously likes this track, and Tom Simmons does well with first-time cheap pieces in handicaps, 6 from 39, a profit of £31. Favour and Fortune is a horse that I tipped up for the Supreme last year, despite him being a hurdler trained by Alan King. When I tipped him up on the preview circuit, he was about 400 to 1 on Betfair. He's gone off at 28 on the day. He's finished 6, beaten less than 10 lengths after jumping like a stuck pig all the way around, and then came out and won the Scottish Champion Hurdle next time out. He's only had the one run this season, finishing mid-div at Ascot. I think there's some big races in him this spring, but it might be Aintree and Ayr again rather than this. I find it really hard to back anything trained by Alan King on a Saturday, particularly over hurdles. And the other one I kept coming back to at a big price was Lump Sum for Sam Thomas. Now, you look at his record below grade 1 level: first, third, first, second, first, second, 4 wins, 4 places from 8 starts. He won his sole handicap, albeit off a £10 lower mark. He's got top weight. But we've seen plenty of top weights run well or even win this race over the years. So I thought Lump Sum, now he's not taken on the likes of Constitution Hill, could run a big race in.
Yeah, 12 stone, but obviously having £3 taken off that from Dylan Johnson's claim, though. 20 to 1 for Lump Sum. Dave?
Yeah, Lump Sum's definitely one that was on my long short list. Glory and Fortune a few years back, didn't even started off and won the Welsh Champion Hurdle before coming in here. I did a bit of work on those types of things, lots of horses that have won certain types of races and how they fared in this race. But again, because you can prove anything with facts, I stopped looking at the one that I wanted to talk about. But we've got Navajo Indy that won the Jerry Fielden. I don't know how many Jerry Fielden winners have ever come in, but they've never done the double in the 2 of them. So I was sort of dismissive of his chance, basically off the principle of that as well. There's I think 33 horses have come in first-time cheap piece as well, and one of them's won this. But obviously that's very specific to the trainers and how well they do it and whether the horses need them or not. But I was very dismissive of Navajo Indy, quite harshly probably. Fiercely Proud won obviously nicely at Ascot, but I think that's like his mark sort of blown now. They fancied the Great Win at the start of the season. I think they recouped to go and win that race at Ascot. I'm not saying this is an afterthought, but these are sort of the logical steps you take with your handicapper after, because you think, well, they're running well, you might as well keep going. That kind of falls true, I think, as well with Secret Squirrel, because I do really like the horse. I do think that his rise of £6, even though he's like £1 winning it, he's only got £5 benefit. I think he can definitely win races again off the back of that. But he was carrying like a featherweight last time, 10 stone 6, and all the times he's running handicaps where he's carried over 11 stone, he seems to be a bit further down the field than you'd expect him to be. He is obviously in real good form. If he was a bigger price, I'd probably be putting up as the freebie each way bet, and I think he will go close. But you could expect to see him run down the field as well, and you wouldn't necessarily be totally surprised. Favour and Fortune that Andrew mentioned, I'm not as harsh on the Alan King Saturday runners. I think I could make a little bit of a case for him. That comeback run, he was sort of tentatively handled. When I watch it back multiple times, like he still does look like he's hard at work at the back of it. So it may be that he needs more than just that one run to come on for it. But his form last season, Andrew touched on what he did in the Supreme. If you go back and watch that, you haven't got to watch much of it, because the first hurdle, he almost lost his jockey, made a howling mistake. And then you think you're running 4 minutes round the track at Cheltenham against the best novices after making a mistake like that. I can't believe he got as close as he did. Obviously, that paid out nicely after when he went and won at Ayr, although I wasn't on. You look at some of his form before that as well, though, but he ran behind Django Bay. Django Bay is now rated 153. I know that's now over fences. He was beaten half a length by Fun. He was giving her £10. She's now rated 143. So with a £10 switch there, that's the same as being a 153 horse as well. So I think there's reasons to think that he could probably still run well off of his mark, even though it is 140. That race as well, where he ran at Ascot, he was behind Secret Squirrel. He was giving him 15 that day. I think he's £6 better off this time round. And for all that he was beaten 30 lengths at Ascot, the front 2 did pull 17 lengths clear. So it's a margin that's probably like sort of, I want to say escalated, but it's been sort of magnified with the fact that those front 2 did pull clear. So I think Favour and Fortune has got a chance, but I would probably want a bit bigger than the 8 to 1. The one I'm going to throw, I will put Favour and Fortune up as a win dart. Probably could do them each way, couldn't you? But I'm going to throw a Hail Mary as well. So when I talked about the trends of looking at horses that won certain races and then the record in coming in here, I don't know if a horse has won the Betfair Hurdle twice or the William Hill Hurdle twice, sorry. I don't know how many horses have tried, but Iberico Lord was 11 to 1 for a champion hurdle. That is the biggest price Iberico Lord has ever been sent off in his career, and he's 16 to 1 for this race. Now, I know he's off a higher mark than he was last year, and I know he's coming in here in no sort of form. But if you go back to his chase debut, he didn't jump very well, but still got the job done. A couple of horses pulled up in that race, and it didn't look like, oh, he's a gone horse, where is his form from last season? It looked like, oh, he's back, he's on his way to making moves. Then next time out, he fell, didn't he? And it was over fences where, again, like the jumping didn't really hold up. So you could sort of forgive him that. But the run last time at Windsor was very strange, because I thought stepping up in trip might suit him. I was watching the market quite closely because I thought he was a big enough price. Then he got backed into favourite. And I don't know if you guys were watching it at the time, but you could see he went down to like 11 to 10 favourite. And then within the minutes before the off, he drifted out to 3 or 4 to 1 on the exchanges, SP'd at 5 to 2. And then he ran accordingly. Like the horse that won it was well backed, and he ran like a pig. So I don't know whether that was just a hurdle prep run to think, do you know what? Let's go run him in this and give him another bash, because last year we thought he was a champion hurdle horse. He's only rated in the 140s now. I think he is definitely better than that. And as while I said that the record of horses sort of running in this like multiple races in the same season, like the big races, it's probably not a good thing to have the previous winner in here. But I don't think many previous winners have sort of had the trail that he's had after. Like I say, champion hurdle, novice chasing, and then stepping up in trip last time out when he was really weak in the market. So 16 to 1 just looks massive. I think he'll get nibbled. I'm happy to throw a bit of a Hail Mary at him.
Happy days. 16 to 1 then about Iberico Lord, again carrying the 12 stone, but also having a claim of taking £3 off his back as well. But also Favour and Fortune though, 8 to 1 shot as well, but happy to go with the win for him. Andrew?
Yeah, just one more to mention in the race, the big prize, King William Rufus, who came out of Castlefort's race at Chepstow on the 27th of December. 9 horses ran since that, and 4 of them won. 3 of them were in the frame as well. And yeah, I thought King William Rufus, that race was running a really fast time. And for Chris Gordon, Charlie Mack's taken off 5, he could run some sort of race at a big price. So I will have the price of a meal deal involving a Mars bar and an apple, maybe a sort of ham sandwich, no mayonnaise, as opposed to a lottery ticket on King William Rufus each way.
Both of those two would definitely count as your snack, though. So you've got your ham sandwich. Then which one are you going to have as your snack? You're 100% going Mars bar, and then your drink there. So that's it.
Yeah, can you? Yeah, I'll have a pint of ham sandwich and a Mars bar.
A pint of ham sandwich. What a horrible thought that is. 33 to 1, though, the outsider of the field. There you go. There's another one then for Andrew, for the outsider of the field. King William Rufus, just to chuck into the mix as well. Right, Dave, back to you, please. Anything from anywhere else?
Yeah, just a couple of things to note in Naas. The last race there's a horse called Apples Jane running. It's Apples Jane's first baby, a walk in the park foal. I mean, not a foal anymore because she's running in a bumper. But obviously, it'll be real good to see her out on the race course. Lots of the hype from the Elliott Yard is saying that she's every bit like Apples Jade. So if she's even half as good as she was on a race course, she'll be phenomenal. And the first race at Naas, of course, we're 5 weeks away from Cheltenham, so all clues and everything's got to be to do with Cheltenham. The first race at Naas, 4 of the last 6 Fred Winter winners came from that race. I think 3 of the 4 of those actually won that race. There's one for Gordon Elliott that wouldn't have enough runs, I don't think, to get in to the Fred Winter, but there's a Willie Mullins horse in there as well that Paul Townend is riding. Basically, just pay attention to that and keep an eye on what Fred Winter market moves may occur after.
Yes, definitely so. And good stats to follow that one as well. I was just looking through that Apples Jane race there at 3:40 at Naas on Saturday. But yeah, Facile Ocean is also in there as well. So there are lots of lots of notable names and pedigrees and everything to go to boot there. Andrew, anything from anywhere else?
No, nothing from me. I did notice the wind's going to be behind them in the straight at Newcastle on Saturday night, which is quite rare. So front runners might do a bit better than usual, but I've not been through the cards yet.
No worries at all. Okay, your nap of this weekend, please. Kind of a tricky one.
Hitman to finish second in the Denman chase.
I was just going to say, I was like, this is kind of a tricky weekend for a nap as such, because either like it's going to be a super shorty or you're taking a bit of a Hail Mary about an each way play or one of the angles in. So yeah, Hitman to finish second because that is his favourite thing to do. Dave?
I mean, you don't have to ask us this every week, Kate. I think with this one, because it is difficult to do, but I will say that Gala Marceau would be my nap in Warwick. I do get the recency bias thing with Margaux, but Margaux was taken on horses coming into the race with very good form. Gala Marceau's taken on 2 mares that on ability could run well, but they're out of sorts. So Gala Marceau 6 to 4 still looks nap worthy.
Yeah, and they definitely are different horses as well, Gala, Marceau and Cargo. So they make the same mistake as I did with getting those two confused there. So yeah, each on their own merit. Right, lads, that is everything from us. We've flown through those 7 races. So a big thank you to the pair of you for all of your hard work as per usual. A big thank you to you for watching at home. Best of luck with your bets this weekend, and we'll speak to you again next week.